Okay. So discovery of the different parts of the cells were done by different people. Anyways, on the basis of the numbers we have, on the basis of number of cells, on the basis of shape and size, and whether they have well organized nucleus or not, we have discussed about different types of cells in the previous class. Further, we also learned about things like cell membrane, cytoplasm, and the cell walls. In the previous class, we have discussed this. Today, our discussion is going to start from the cell factory, that is basically the cell organelles. Just like your body has got various organs, right? Heart is there, kidney, lungs, stomach, intestines, etc. Similar to that, the cells also have a miniature version of these organs. Not exactly like that. Like there'll be very small mini version of the lung, not exactly like that, but they have their own organs, and they are called as organelle, right? They are called as organelles, or basically cell organelles, right? So the various components that you found inside a cell, like you have the nucleus, you have the mitochondria, you have Golgi apparatus, etc. You have ribosomes, lysosomes. These are called as cell organelles. Take a look at this diagram. In this one, you will find so many tiny structures are present inside the cell. This central structure that you see over here, obviously this is the nucleus. Okay, now nucleus is usually spherical in shape. What about these structures? This thing here, this thing here, this thing, and this dot-like structures. These are the cell organelles. Getting it now, Vaika, Ibrahim, and Ramiz?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So today we are going to learn about these different types of cell organelles, starting from the nucleus. And like all of them have got different functions to perform, and each one of them are specific in their functions, right? Like nucleus has a separate function, mitochondria has a separate function, ribosome, lysosomes, all of them are having different functions to perform, and all of them would be functioning together to keep the cell active and alive. Talking about the very first, we have the nucleus. So it is generally spherical in shape and located in the center of the cell. Generally located in the center of the cell, but you have exceptions. When you take a look at the plant cells, so it is located in the corner in the plant cells. Anyways, now this nucleus is separated from the cytoplasm by a boundary that is around it. What I mean to say, see that you have a cell. Inside the cell, this is where the nucleus is. Inside the nucleus also, by the way, you have one more thing we shall be discussing later on. This dark region I'll be explaining later on. As of now, understand that this nucleus has a boundary around it. Okay, no? It has a boundary around it. So, by the way, in which organisms the nucleus are well developed and have a boundary around them? Are they prokaryotes or eukaryotes?
Eukaryotes.
Eukaryotes, good. And this right here is the cytoplasm. That's the cell membrane. And this over here is the nuclear membrane. That's the nuclear membrane. And this here, that is nucleus. So I'm saying that the nucleus here is separated from the cytoplasm, the jelly-like fluid that is present around it. So it is separated from that jelly-like fluid with the help of this nuclear membrane around it. Getting it, everyone? It is separated by the cytoplasm via the nuclear membrane. Is this point clear? The second statement, is
Yes,
it clear? That nucleus is separated from the cytoplasm by a membrane around it called as nuclear membrane. Okay. Further, the nucleus have got thread-like structures in it that we call as chromosomes. Chromosomes, all of you know already, right? So it will be taking the help of the chromosomes, like the information that is stored in the chromosome is used by the nucleus to decide what each organelle should do. What are their functions going to be? Suppose you have, like, there's this mitochondria. So what is the function of the mitochondria? It is decided by the nucleus. What will be the function of the ribosome? It is decided by the nucleus. What would be the function of Golgi apparatus or any other organelle? All of it is decided by the nucleus. So since the decision making power of the cell is with the nucleus, can we call this as the brain of the cell?
Yes, sir.
Right? So this is basically brain of the cell. Further, the nucleus also contains some small concentrated material inside it that we call as nucleolus. Although we don't have to study that in detail, but this is nucleolus. Okay. The two primary functions of nucleus. First, it is responsible for storing the cell's hereditary material or DNA. So DNA is present inside the nucleus. That is one thing. Further, it is responsible for coordinating many of the important cellular activities, right? Such as protein production. Synthesis, the word synthesis here basically refers to production. So it is responsible for many of the activities that is done by the cell. For the production of protein in the cell, nucleus is responsible. For how the cell division is to be carried out, how the growth has to take place, and so many other functions. All of these are being kind of coordinated by the nucleus. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
And this is this dense structure that you see over here, no? This concentrated dark region inside the nucleus, that is what nucleolus is basically. Okay, you should just have a general idea about this nucleolus, like where it is present. Next, as you know about chromosomes already, like these are the thread-like structures present inside the nucleus. So in the given animation, you can see like these are the thread-like structures and present inside the nucleus. And they carry the genes, right? They carry the genes and helps in the inheritance or transfer of characters from parents to the offspring. Okay. So what we see here, that nucleus contains chromosomes and chromosomes contains genes and the DNA basically. So let me give you a general idea of like where all these structures are present. Say that this is a cell. Inside the cell, this is the nucleus. This is the nucleus. Now, in the nucleus further, when we zoom out the nucleus, we find that in this you have thread-like structures. When we take out this nucleus, this is the cell. This is the nucleus of the cell. It has got thread-like structures like this. What are we calling these thread-like structures, Micah?
Chromosomes.
Chromosomes. Okay, let's take out one of them. Let's take out this chromosome now. So when it is viewed, so we see that this chromosome further that you see over here is composed of DNA. It contains DNA in it. So when we look out at this now, so it is made up of DNA. DNA kind of has a structure like this. It has a structure like this. So this was chromosome, and this is the DNA. And further we find that the DNA contains genes in them. The DNA contains genes in them. Getting it? These structures, these are the genes in it. So now you guys are getting where the genes are found exactly. Tell
Yes,
me if
sir.
you guys are getting it so far. Yeah. So this right here was the cell. Inside the cell, we have the nucleus. Inside the nucleus, you have got the chromosome. Chromosomes have DNA. DNA have genes. Right. So chromosomes, they were the thread-like structures, and they carry the DNA and the genes. Right. They are made up of DNA, and they contain the gene. So gene is the ultimate or the smallest hereditary unit. Like in the case of reproduction in animals, we have learned that chromosomes carries the genetic information of the parent, right? All the genetic information is embedded into the chromosome. Where exactly in the chromosome? So it is in the genes. So genes can be called as the hereditary unit. Getting it, everyone? We call this as the hereditary unit. So information about all the physical feature of that organism is found in that gene. How many chromosomes are there in any given cell except for the gamete cells? Yes.
So
23.
what is the question?
How many chromosomes are present in the cell except for gamete cells?
23.
44.
Neither 23, neither 44.
36.
Neither 36. No,
22.
no. It's 46. Okay.
Sir, you said
46. Repeat again.
including the gametes or excluding the gametes?
No. I already said that excluding the gamete cells. Okay, no? Excluding the sperm and the ovum. Any cells in the body, whether it be the muscular cell, the bone cells, huh, they have 46 chromosomes in them. Okay, Vaika, Ramesh, Ibrahim. See, here's the thing. See that, for example, you have the red blood cell. This is a non-sex cell now. This is a non-sex cell. So it has got 46 chromosomes. Or we can say this as 23 pair, basically meaning the same thing. But when we talk about the sperm cell or the ovum cell, so they have half the chromosomes. They have 23 chromosomes, right? 23 chromosomes, 23 chromosomes. Further, you see that out of this 23 chromosomes in the sperm cells, the 22 chromosomes would be same, but the 23rd chromosome can be either X or can either be Y. Can either be X or can either be Y. But in the case of ovum, what do we know?
XX.
Yeah, it can only be X. Either X or either X only. Okay. So it can be only X. So hope you guys are getting that much.
Yes, sir.
Good. So that was all about the nucleus, and take a look at the DNA basically. Okay, contains the necessary information. Next, you have the other structures like the vacuoles. So regarding nucleus, any questions? Any questions from that topic? So next we have the vacuoles. Now, just like our house have got a storage room, have a storehouse where we would be putting the extra stuff, unnecessary stuff should be put there, or something that is of use, not right now, but it will come to use later on. So we put that into the storehouse. So similar to that, we have vacuoles in the cell. Okay. So vacuoles basically, these are the organelles that will be storing water. It will store waste and will store some other substances also. And it is found in the plant and animal cells both, right? So they are kind of acting as storage organs. Getting it now, Vaika and everyone? So they
Yes,
are
sir.
storage bubbles and have irregular shape which are found in the cells. Found in both plant and animal cells. Plant and animal cells. They'll be storing the food, a variety of nutrients that a cell needs to survive, or if it needs to get rid of some waste material, it will go into the vacuole. Apart from food, we should add water also in it. Now, when you take a look at the plant cell and the animal cell, there is a big difference between the two. See that this is the diagram of a plant cell. This is the vacuole. This is the vacuole in a plant cell. Okay. Then this right over here is the nucleus. That's the cell wall. And that's the cell membrane. Now, if you were to take a look at the animal cells, observe the difference between the size and the number of vacuoles in the animal cells. See that this is the animal cell. In the animal cells, generally the nucleus is located in the center. And take a look at the size of the vacuole cells and the number. So there are few vacuole cells in the plant cells, but they are bigger in size. In the plant cells, they are bigger in size, much larger than the animal cells. Getting it, all of you?
Yes, sir.
But in the case of animal cells, they are more vacuole cells, but they are smaller in size. That is one thing. Another important function of the vacuole is that although they are acting as storage organs, but they also provides rigidity to the plant cells. Rigidity, you understand now? It makes the plant cells rigid, makes it strong, makes it hard. Okay. So how does it provides rigidity? So vacuoles will get filled with water and it will create pressure inside the cell. So which will keep the shape of the cell intact, and also it will help it withstand extreme conditions. Is that point clear to everyone?
Yes,
You
sir.
can take a look at this diagram also. Can you guys tell me this cell is from the animal or from the plant?
And
Why is it so? How can you conclude? What is
the
the
cell
basis?
wall and the nucleus is to the side.
And one more thing, that the vacuole is too big in size. That is one thing. Okay. Then you have the Golgi apparatus. So the Golgi apparatus in the plants, in the animal cells, or in basically any cell, it is present um, in both. So the main function of the Golgi apparatus is to modify the proteins. Okay, is to modify the protein. So what happens basically? What happens? The main organelle present in the cell where the protein production takes place is the endoplasmic reticulum over here. This is the endoplasmic reticulum over here, the one where I'm pointing. So the protein that is being prepared in the endoplasmic reticulum is then received by the Golgi apparatus. So Golgi apparatus, their primary function is to modify the proteins received from the endoplasmic reticulum, further process it, and transport it to its final destination inside the cell. Getting it? Where it will be used for different purposes. So its main function is to modify the protein. Getting it? Like you can understand this as like this is acting as a post office where the proteins should be packed and would be labeled. Are you guys able to understand this or not? Please tell me.
Yes,
Yes,
I,
sir.
Getting it? So see what is happening here. This structure over here is the endoplasmic reticulum. It is responsible for the synthesis, for the production of protein. Now it sends the protein to the Golgi apparatus. What the Golgi apparatus does, it modifies the protein. So that's all the main function. Other thing is that it is like also called as Golgi apparatus. Is also it's a Golgi complex is also its name. It is a membrane bound nucleus, meaning that it has a boundary. Okay. It's a membrane bound structure. Then the modified proteins that are placed in it will be transferred elsewhere in the cell wherever required. Okay. That was all about this Golgi apparatus. After this, you have the endoplasmic reticulum, which is found in all the eukaryotic cells. Generally, in the prokaryotic cells, it is absent. It is a membrane-bound organelle. Okay, and talking about the function, so the main function of the endoplasmic reticulum is to for synthesizing the protein, for the production of protein. Getting it? And once the protein has been produced, then it will be transporting it to Golgi apparatus, right? So that is the case. The endoplasmic reticulum, some of the endoplasmic reticulum is covered by ribosomes on them. So endoplasmic reticulums that have got ribosomes on its outer surface, they are called as rough endoplasmic reticulum. Okay, no? They are called as rough endoplasmic reticulum. So that is the case. So it can be of two types. One is the smooth and another one is the rough endoplasmic reticulum. So the endoplasmic reticulum, which does not have ribosome, what do we call that? Will you call that as smooth, or will you call that as rough?
Rough.
Not have ribosomes.
Smooth.
That will be smooth. Okay. So smooth endoplasmic reticulum. In short, I'm writing as ER. So smooth endoplasmic reticulum are not covered with ribosomes. Not covered with ribosomes. Okay. Further, they have got slightly different functions in comparison to the rough endoplasmic reticulum. But as of now, just understand this much. As for the rough endoplasmic reticulum, they are covered with ribosomes. Now, there is one important function of the ribosome. Ribosomes would be particularly responsible for synthesizing the protein. Ribosomes would be responsible for synthesizing the protein. So since ribosomes are present on the rough endoplasmic reticulum, so thereby rough endoplasmic reticulum, we will also say that it is responsible for protein synthesis, right? So ribosomes, let us talk about this one also. So these are special cell structures, cell organelles that are found in both the prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells. And every living cell requires ribosomes for the production of protein. So these are kind of small machine-like structures, we can say, that would be responsible for production of protein in all the cells. Okay. And they are found in both prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells. Getting it, everyone?
Yes, sir.
So whether it be the bacterial cells, whether it be fungal cells, plant cells, or animal cells, everywhere this is present. But the type of protein, later on in higher classes, you will learn that, like the type of protein, type of ribosomes found in the bacteria and the bacterial cells is different as compared to animal and plant cells. Okay. Further, see, if more number of ribosomes are present in the cell, so it's a good sign. It shows that more number of protein is being produced in the cells. If less number of ribosomes is found, it means that the cell is not synthesizing the protein rapidly, not actively producing the protein. Okay. And by the way, tell me if you guys have understood it so far. Endoplasmic reticulum, this ribosome and all that. Yeah. Good then. So you guys tell me, what is the function of endoplasmic reticulum?
Like it helps in the transportation of substances.
What substances particularly?
Proteins.
Protein. Mainly, we see that its main function is to produce the protein, right? As the rough endoplasmic reticulum has ribosomes on it, right? Whose main function is to make the protein. So can we also not say that rough endoplasmic reticulum, particularly, its main function is to produce protein for the rest of the cells to carry out their function, right?
Yes, sir.
So their main function is to synthesize the protein and also transfer it to transfer it to its destination, transfer it to different part of the cell wherever it is required. Okay. You can tell me what is the function of vacuoles in the cell?
To store food,
Or
water for survival, or to store waste.
Okay, and yes,
Mhm.
Ibrahim. Yes.
I was saying the same thing.
Okay. Will it provide turgidity to the cell? Will it provide turgidity
Yeah, to the plant cell.
to the plant cells particularly? Very good. Will it also help the plant? It also help the cell in getting rid of the harmful materials, and will it help the cell manage its waste materials? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, Micah, getting it now, everyone.
Yes, sir.
So that is the case. Now it's finally the time for this powerhouse of the cell, that is the mitochondria. One thing you might be able to recall that in the 7th grade you must have learned about respiration, cellular respiration, right? So the site of cellular respiration inside the cell is this structure called as mitochondria, and it has double boundary around it. As for the other organelles that you see, like they have only one boundary around them, but it has double boundary around it. So it's a double membrane bound sausage shaped organelle, as you can see in this diagram particularly. 1 minute. Over here, you can take a look at the actual diagram of this mitochondria. See, the one that is at the 5th number, that is the mitochondria. So that is kind of sausage shaped organelle and having two membranes, having two boundaries around it. Talking about its main function, it is the site of respiration in the cell. What are the products and like what is given out in the process of respiration? Yes. What happens in the mitochondria of the cell? Yes,
Gives
anyone?
out oxygen and glucose.
Explain the complete process.
Like it takes in carbon dioxide
No, it
and
gives out, no?
uh, so it takes in oxygen
Mhm.
and it gives out carbon dioxide and glucose.
Okay. And water also, along with production of energy. So the mitochondria are the organelles in the cell that are having two membranes, they are double membrane, and they produce energy. So which is very much important for the cells to carry out its function, right? So they are basically converting the food into energy. So the food that goes into the cell, basically in the form of glucose, is being oxidized, is being broken down with the help of oxygen. So with the help of oxygen, aerobic respiration takes place in most of the cells, and thereby in the process of doing so, carbon dioxide plus water is given out, and there is a release of energy in the process. And the energy that is released is stored as ATP molecules. As ATP molecules. Okay. So main function of the mitochondria is to give out this energy that will be used by the cells to carry out its different functions, right? So that is the main function. Any doubt from this? Although it has got
Yes, sir.
some other functions also. Okay, like many cases we see that it would be storing the calcium in it, which um, uh, it stores calcium, helps in storage of the calcium in the blood also will be helping in breaking down the fatty acids and all that. But the main thing is that these are the sites of aerobic respiration in the cell, and it produces energy in the form of ATP molecules. So thereby it is appropriate to call this as the powerhouse of the cell. Next, you have the plastids, right? And the plastids are only present in the plant cells. Okay, no, plastids are only present in the plant cells. So they carry pigments in them. They are carrying different kind of pigments in them, like they have green pigment, yellow, orange, brown, etc. So they are present in the plant cells while it will be absent in the animal cells. Keep this thing in mind. Then we have got different type of plastids based on the color pigment. You don't have to memorize all of it. Just I'm telling you guys for the sake of making the thing clear. So for example, you have chloroplast, the one that contains the green pigment, and that is, what is the green pigment? Obviously it is chlorophyll. Okay. Then you have chromoplast, right? Chromoplast is basically the type of pigment, it's the plastid that contains pigments which gives the vegetables and fruits their colors, like red, yellow, blue, etc. Then you have got leucoplast, right? Leucoplast. So all of them are different type of plastids. And as you can see here, these are different colorful leaves. So they have got different pigments in them. Hence, they have got different colors, right? Now, are the chloroplast absent in the colorful leaves? Is the chlorophyll absent in the colorful leaves? What do you guys think?
No.
Yeah, obviously no, because if they were to be absent, how would they perform photosynthesis? No. So amount of chlorophyll present in these colorful leaves will be significantly less, right? Which is why they are, and other pigments would be slightly more. So instead of green, they would be appearing uh, differently. They would be appearing based on the type of pigment present in them, right? That is one thing. So it's like chlorophyll is present in them, but it is kind of shaded with the presence of other kind of pigments. They will still be carrying out photosynthesis. So plastids, as we are discussing, plant cells have tiny colored structures called as plastids. They carry pigment of various colors like orange, red, green, and even colorless. The one that you see here, now, this leucoplast, this one is colorless, by the way. It does not have any color. So its main function, by the way, also is not related to giving the color of the cell. It kind of helps in storing the proteins and starch in the roots and underground stems of the plants. So that was all about the different types of cell organelles. Tell me if you guys have understood everything about the cell organelles of the plant and animal and all that.
Yes, sir.
Any questions? Any doubt from that? Please get it cleared if you guys have any questions. Let me just sum it up for you guys clearly. See, if the cell organelles were to speak, this is what they would be saying. As we know that nucleus is the largest, it's the largest cell organelle that stores the genetic informations. Largest, we would be saying membrane bound cell organelle that stores the genetic information, controls the activity of the cell, right? So it is kind of commanding what all of the cell organelles have to do. Ribosomes, these are the tiny cell organelles. Their functions is particularly to prepare the protein, right? To make the protein. Ribosome is not shown here now.
It's below the mitochondria.
Below the yeah, over here, yeah. So ribosomes, these are the organelles that their main function is to prepare the protein. So nucleus, it stores the genetic material. Next, controls the function of cell, like how the growth is going to take place, how the protein production is going to occur, right? How the division is going to take place, division of cell, etc. Next, as for the ribosomes, their function is to produce protein. So protein production occurs over here. Then you have the endoplasmic reticulum. By the way, there are two types of endoplasmic reticulum. You have smooth endoplasmic reticulum and rough endoplasmic reticulum. So what it does, it would be kind of processing the protein, helps in the processing of the protein, and also will basically help in processing of the protein, and will help in transporting it to their final destinations inside the cell. So helps, what happened to this? It helps in processing of protein and transports it to their destination inside the cell wherever it is required. Then you have the Golgi apparatus. So Golgi apparatus will also be responsible for processing and sorting the proteins, and will be also helping in transporting it to their final destination. So Golgi apparatus helps in processing and transporting protein. They're kind of acting as post office, would be kind of sorting and labeling the proteins. Then obviously we have learned about the mitochondria, right? They would be doing aerobic respiration. They are the site of aerobic respiration where the energy is being produced. So they are called as powerhouse of the cell, right? After that, there was one more thing left to be discussed, that is this lysosome. So lysosome now is called a suicidal bag. Lysosome is called a suicidal bag. Quite an interesting name it has got. So what happens that whenever some parts of the cell would get damaged, if a cell organelle gets damaged, right, or like for example, some waste material is being produced inside the cell of the body, inside the body of the cell. So thereby it will go into this, it will go into this lysosome. So lysosome will break down the damaged part of the cell, right? It will basically break it down, kind of dissolve it. So if there's a dying cell organelle, for example, there's a damaged ribosome, for example, this is a damaged ribosome. It is kind of worn out, kind of damaged. So it will go into the lysosome. So it is going to the it will go to the lysosome, but lysosome is not going to cure it. It is basically going to kill it. It is going to kill it, eliminate it. So thereby it is being called as the suicidal bag. Getting it, Viger, Ibrahim, and everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So that is the case. So they'll be breaking down worn out cell parts. So they break out worn out, meaning that damaged cell part. They break out worn out cell parts. They may call as suicidal bag. Okay. In fact, it can not only break down the cell part, but it can also in some manners, it can also kind of help the damaged cells self-destruct itself. Okay, it can help a damaged cell self-destruct itself. If a cell has got damage, so the lysosome will help that cell to destruct itself. Okay. So that was all about this. Now we have one more topic, that is how the plant and animal cells are different from one another. So one very obvious difference we have discussed in the beginning, that plant cells have cell walls while the animal cells do not. Cell membranes are found in both of them, cytoplasm, nucleus found on both of them. Chloroplast, the colorful parts like the chloroplasts which have the colorful pigments in them are only in the plant cells. Vacuoles found in both of them, but the size of the vacuole found in the animal cells is, yes, bigger or smaller?
Smaller.
Smaller.
Smaller, but more in number. And in case of sorry, I was saying about the plant cell or the animal cell. Plant cell, no?
Animal cell.
Animal cell, yeah. In animal cell, it will be smaller in number and smaller in size, I mean to say, and will be more in number. But in case of plant cell,
Large. But
Larger in
Bigger
less.
in
size.
size.
and few in number. Good. One more topic is that how the cells would be dividing. Okay, like how the cells would be basically multiplying. So cell division basically is the process by which a parent cell would be dividing to form two or more than two cells, right? And this cell division becomes very important as a result of the cell division, the animal will grow further, the organism will grow further. If there are some damaged cells, it will be repaired. If new cells have to be formed, it is important. And for reproduction in living organisms also, cell division is the main process. It occurs in two manners. One is called as meiosis, another is called as mitosis. Now, in the human body, we see that there are two types of cells, right? One we are basically calling as the non-sex cell, or also called as somatic cells. What are these? So these are bone, blood, muscles, etc. These are the somatic cells. Getting it, everyone? Another group of cell is the gamete or the sex cells. Sex cells. So basically, we have the sperm and ovum. So the way how the sperm and the ovum cells would be dividing is very different from how the bone, blood, muscle cells would be dividing. So right now we will talk about the meiosis, the process, the type of cell division via which sperm or the ovum cells would be produced, would be formed. Getting it? So that is meiosis. So in the process of meiosis, what happens? The parent cell, or basically the given cell, would be splitting up into two parts, and it will result in formation of identical cells. Getting it? So meiosis is the type of cell division in which sperm and ovum would be dividing into two identical daughter cells. Hope you guys are getting that thing so this much so far.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Like you can understand this in this manner also. Suppose you have a parent cell like this. Suppose you have the ovum. This is the ovum, which is, we are considering this as the parent cell. In the process of meiosis, this parent cell will later on go on to split into two daughter cells like this. So these are two daughter cells. In the similar manner, the sperm also does the cell division in the similar manner. So this will also split up into two different parts like this. So these are the examples of cell division, and that is basically meiosis. Next, you have the mitosis that occurs in the somatic cells. Somatic cells, basically the non-sex cells or the body cells. So in this also, it will result in the production of the identical daughter cells, and this one is particularly important for the growth of the body, for the repair of damaged tissues, and replacement of the old cells. As you can see in the given animation, that this is a red blood cell, and see how it is splitting up into two parts. How it splits up into two parts, right? So that is about the mitosis and meiosis. That is all about mitosis and meiosis. Also, in the given diagram, you can see that meiosis is the type of cell division by which the sperm and the ovum cells are formed, right? So meiosis is occurring over here. Then in the process of fertilization, we see that zygote is formed, and zygote further goes on to develop into embryo and then into fetus, then basically leads to birth of the baby, that is an infant. So after the fertilization has taken place, which type of cell division method is being carried on here? Is it the mitosis or meiosis? It's the
Mitosis.
mitosis. Okay, now? So that is the case here. Any questions from this?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay. So that is the case. Okay. So let me sum up the complete thing which we have discussed over here. By the way, this diagram is a bit incomplete. Just 1 minute. I need to improvise this. 1 minute, 1 minute. Do not consider this diagram. Okay, 1 minute. In the given diagram, only two. I have shown only two daughter cells now. Actually, four daughter cells are formed in the process of meiosis. Okay, now let me explain that how. See, consider any parent cell. Right now, we're talking about the meiosis. Consider you have any parent cell. This parent cell is going to split up into two cells first. These two cells will also later on split into two more cells. Two more cells. So ultimately, how many cells are formed? This was the parent cell, and these are the daughter cells. So how many daughter cells do we get here?
4.
4. Okay, now. So 4 daughter cells are formed in the process of meiosis. Okay, now 4 daughter cells are formed in the process of meiosis. Okay. Another important thing to be considered here is that the number of chromosomes present in the parent cell, if it is let's say that it is 46 chromosomes, suppose, so it goes on to become half. It goes on to become half. 46, then 23 and 23, 23 and 23. This one is also having 23, 23, 23, and 23. That's why you get to see that the ovum cells are having half the number of chromosomes. Similarly, just like the sperm cells would be having the half number of chromosomes. Okay. So hope you guys are getting it. Another type of cell division is basically the binary fission. So you must have learned about the amoeba, different kind of bacteria that would be simply replicating themselves to form two daughter organisms. So that was binary fission, right? So it is done by single cell organisms like that of bacteria, like that of amoeba. In case of amoeba, it will simply split up into two daughter cells. And it is observed that the two daughter cells are basically identical to one another. Now we have this question that is there any similarity between binary fission and mitosis? Yeah. Is there? Mhm.
It is the similarity is like those two cells divide to form two identical daughter cells.
Okay. The parent cell divides to form two identical daughter cells, right? And in the case of Mitosis also, as you can see here, the parent cell splits up into two daughter cells, which are identical to one another, right? So mitosis also gives out two identical daughter cells, right, Vigo and everyone?
Yes, sir.
It gives two identical daughter cells, as you can see here. The red blood cell is dividing. Similar to that, here also two identical daughter cells are given in case of binary fission. So that is one such similarity between them. Okay. But there is a difference also. The key difference between the two is that mitosis happens in the eukaryotic cells, while the binary fission occurs in prokaryotic cell. Okay. So this amoeba or the bacteria, obviously they are prokaryotic now, right? They are prokaryotic organisms. So that is the key difference between the two. Hope this thing is clear to everyone. Any
Yes, sir.
questions?
No, sir.
Before we continue, I would like to quickly sum up the difference between the mitosis and meiosis, and then we will continue. Okay. Now, what we have discussed about the differences between the two, that meiosis occurs in the gamete cells, in the sperm and the ovum cells, right? Division will be taking place two times, right? Now, it occurs two times, right? Further, the daughter cells that are formed are four in number, and all of them are having half the number of chromosomes in them. That is one thing. Okay. Further, we have seen that in the case of mitosis, it occurs in the somatic cells, in the body cells particularly. Division will take place only once and results in two identical daughter cells, right? That was the key difference between the two. Let's do these questions. Where did it go? 1 minute. Seems like my screen is stuck. Wait a minute, I need to reshare my screen. Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you guys will leave the class only after answering these questions, okay? So stay there for a minute or two. Yeah. Who discovered the cell?
Robert Hooke.
Robert Hooke.
Good. Next.
Mitochondria.
Mitochondria.
Next.
A nucleus.
Yes.
Which structure is found only in plant cells?
L1.
Cell wall. Good. Next.
Cytoplasm.
Very
Cyto-
good. What is a cell? Why is it called the basic unit of life? Vaika, you will answer first question, Ibrahim second, and Rami's third question. Yes, anyone start?
So the first one, right, for me?
Yeah, you can answer first one.
Okay, sir. 1 minute.
Second question is also easy. Yes, Ibrahim.
Two organelles are like nuclei and mitochondria. Nuclei stores genetic information and mitochondria produces chemical energy.
Okay, good.
Okay, so like a cell is, for the first one, a cell is the smallest unit of life, and it has a definite structure, and it also performs different tasks and functions. And like all the plants and animals are made up of cells. Yeah.
Okay. Why is it called the basic unit of life?
It's present in all living organisms.
Okay. It is present in all living organisms. That is quite obvious and correct. We see that similar type of cells would be organizing together to form tissues. Tissues then similar tissues forms organs, and it leads to organs would be working together to form an organ system, and hence an organism comes into existence. So thereby the basic unit here from which that organism started to form was the cell. That is the reason. Okay. Yeah, continue. Third question was given to you.
A cell membrane is basically present in all cells and gives and acts as a protective shield and allows selective things, mainly proteins, to pass through it. And a cell wall is present in cells such as plant cells, fungi, bacteria, and it acts as like it gives structure. It gives it structure and protection and all. And it
Okay.
doesn't let anything through.
No, it also allows